I feel like Tacoma has largely, over the years, like we had the worst of the crash, things were so bad. And, our recovery seems to have been a little more gradual, hopefully a little more sustainable than some of the other recoveries. And so I feel like people in bigger cities have been dealing with this for a really long time, but it's just the last couple of years that we're starting to get this like fever,
Yeah, I was just thinking about the good old days 2 years ago when we'd write a full priced offer and we were almost guaranteed to get it.
A full price offer and ask for closing costs.
Yes.
Because a full price offer meant like the seller was still paying our buyer's closing costs.
Yeah.
And it's not like that right now.
Kiss those days goodbye. Yeah, for a while anyways. We'll see. But yeah, I feel like I'm constantly giving people bad news. So I think talking about it and getting it out there and kind of prepping people would be helpful. So I don't feel like I'm just the bearer of all this bad news every time I meet clients.
So let's talk about if you're a buyer in the current crazy market, head full of dreams, list of Pinterest boards and bedrooms and bathrooms, and you want character and all these things. Like, what's the reality check for buyers in the Tacoma market in 2017?
Well, the biggest issue right now, coupled with the market value increases, is the lack of inventory still. So there's not a lot of houses. So if you want that charm and you want it dialed in, you want the location, guess what? Everybody else is going to want it. And there's going to be at least 5 to 12 offers is kind of typical right now.
Oh my God, 12 offers.
If they price it right, heaven forbid they price it right, they're going to have more offers.
Yeah.
The best thing that can happen in that case is to have a home overpriced. That's
And then
my favorite.
maybe lingering a little.
Yeah, or maybe it gets 2 offers. At list,
If it's overpriced, it still gets 2 offers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So let's say you have a buyer that is, okay, so we're pre-approved to $350,000 and we want to move to Proctor and we'd like something really cute with charm and 2 bathrooms. Like, what would you say to that person?
What would I say to that person? First, what I like to do is I like to pull up current active listings when we're meeting one-on-one in the office for the first time. I like to pull up things that are sold and things that are active and pending just to kind of show them, like, okay, is this what you're looking for? Here's what it went for. And if I have knowledge about how many offers it received and all that, I'll go into that as well. Going from that, like being very specific with neighborhoods, I've had some people say, oh, well, this doesn't apply to me because I'm looking in South Tacoma. This doesn't apply to me because I'm looking in Central. It applies to you. Like, everywhere is competitive right now.
Yeah, so what has happened? I mean, I'm thinking like, a couple of years ago when we were looking with buyers like in the South End and on the East Side, like you could find adorable houses that would go FHA or VA under $200,000 in the South End.
Gosh, nope.
No.
No.
Because I think most people think like, oh yeah, like South End, East Side, I mean, I could live with that and, I want to spend $160,000.
Yeah, and the thing is, with the low inventory, people who need to be below like 225, that buyer pool is really big. And so that cute 2-bedroom comes on the East Side and everybody wants it. So going from that, there are things you can do to be stronger other than just offering as much as you can.
Let's talk about that. So it's not just about the money.
It is not just about the offer
It's mostly about the money.
Well, it's about the money, but not maybe how you think.
Okay, so if you're going up against 6 other people, I'm thinking the last 2 offers I've written, we were competing with 5 other people, and in the end, you and maybe 1 or 2 other offers might hit about the same price. So why does it? I mean, I guess this is like what are some of the things that you can do to give your offer some edge, and how do you make sure that your realtor knows about all this stuff?
So what I help coach people with is what are other ways we can make our offer more attractive to the sellers other than just offering the most that we can. Because for example, if you're financing your purchase, I'm going to run recently solds near that property, which is what the appraiser is going to do too. So just because this house is listed for $200,000 and you're willing to, finance a loan to pay $300,000, it doesn't mean your bank's going to let you or the bank's going to let you do that. So other things sellers are looking for are your earnest money, which is going to be deposited into escrow, a neutral third party who handles the transaction. So that money is insurance for the seller saying, I am a serious buyer, and if I break the contract for any illegitimate reason, you get to keep my earnest money. And at the end, it goes towards your down payment. So having that cash on hand is huge. Same goes for a down payment. If you're able to put money down, that's gonna look attractive to a seller.
A lot of people think this might be a point to clear up that, it used to be like people always thought like, oh, you have to put 20% down to buy a house. Yeah. That's not true. That said,
to get your loan, it's not true.
It's not true. Like you can get a 0 down loan if you have a VA benefit. You can get a 3.5% down loan if you're FHA. You can even get state down payment assistance for that 3.5% and really put 0 down. But in this market, like, how do sellers look at these offers? You just took multiple offers on an adorable craftsman in South Tacoma. Like, how were you looking and evaluating the offers that were coming through?
We were looking at offer amount, but we were very much paying attention to how much they were putting down, how much earnest money were they offering, how fast they were willing to close was one thing too. But honestly, if someone's willing to close on May 15th and someone's willing to close May 30th, but they're putting 20% down, and they're gonna beat out the other offer.
Why do sellers care about a buyer who puts more money down? Like, why do they care what kind of loan they're doing and how much money they have?
Right. Few reasons. One is it just makes the financing look stronger, like less risk that your financing is all going to fall apart because you clearly have savings and you've really prepped for this. The other thing we're dealing with, because of the increased market value in such a short amount of time, is we don't have the sold properties to back up that increased market value. Meaning,
so you might have 10 people bidding the house price up, but no sold comparables.
Right, and so that means when the appraiser comes out to make sure that the house is worth what you offered, if you're financing the purchase, the seller, if they have a savvy agent, is gonna know there's a likelihood that if it goes way over list, assuming they priced it accurately, that could be a problem, because if the buyer's financing all of the loan and the appraisal comes in low, the seller has to either lower that price, or you can bring extra cash to make up the difference. And that's where having a bigger down payment comes into play. So for the scenario you were just talking about, me and my seller were reviewing offers, and the one that won offered to bring extra money towards their down payment if the appraisal came in lower.
So for example, if the house is listed at $280 and your buyer offers $300, they're saying, if it doesn't appraise for $300, we'll make up the difference in cash to $280.
Yep.
And that's what makes the difference.
Or partial. I'll bring, $5,000. I'll bring $10,000.
That's a good tip.
And it's just extra insurance, so the seller's evaluating the risk of taking that offer.
I think this is a good place to close up with the advice to get an amazing buyer's agent. I think a mistake that a lot of people make, especially when they buy their first house or if they're relocating, they just call the name of the agent on the sign, or they click show me this house on Zillow, and they don't bother to interview and get a buyer's agent that really knows what they're doing. Can you talk about the difference that it makes to have an advocate that really focuses on buyers? Tell me about this.
So one thing I noticed with the most recent listing is there was only, out of all the offers, there was one agent who was asking me, what is your seller looking for? And that's a question that I always ask, but it's actually not super common. So
Weird.
Just the listing agent might not tell you what their seller's looking for, but more likely than not, they will tell you they want a long close, they want a short close, and then that can help tailor the offer to what they're looking for. Another thing is just an agent following up, preparing to submit the offer, making that relationship, being like, wow, this agent is on top of it, they're easy to communicate with. That stuff really does matter.
What about to the buyer? What are some things that a good buyer's agent does for their buyer?
Well, that's one of the pieces, is just really good communication.
I think sitting down and getting to know you before you go into this situation is really important.
Well, and what I tell people too is trust is a really big thing right now, because it's crazy out there, and there's so many times where people are like, oh yeah, Keryn, it's crazy, I get it, and then they're like, oh, I didn't get it. Yeah. And just being able to believe, hey, this house, I know it's listed for this, and you're really excited, it's probably gonna go for this, and you have to trust your agent to evaluate that properly.
I think that's where, we're all different. We all need something different in our agent, especially our buyer's agent, because that person's really in the trenches with us. In a seller's market like we're in right now, with the inventory shortage and the craziness, I think it's extra important that a person chooses a buyer's agent that they really like and trust. And to keep looking until you find that person, and not just be like, oh, whatever, I just need someone to open this door. Because, things are going to come up in your transaction, and the more you trust each other, the better the outcome, right?
Totally. Yes. It's a better experience for everyone when you just click.
Yeah. So good luck. We're around. Good luck finding your buyer's agent.